Now, let's go ahead and create our logout model for when we click on this right here. Now, the way we do that is by using the dialog component, which we installed right here when we installed all the components from ShadCN. So let's go ahead and use the dialog component. And so in order to use that, then I'm going to remove this div right here, so that now the home icon here and the welcome text is going to be singular. And then I'm going to cut it out. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to render the dialog component instead. Now control spacebar, make sure once again that you're importing it from /UI dialog. Okay, so the dialog component has another component that is called the dialog trigger. And the dialog trigger, once again, all these components are all imported from the same place, okay, from /UI dialog. So the dialog trigger is basically the button, let me use the button, which when you click on, or the element that when you click on is going to open the dialog. Now in this case, it's going to be the button, and the button is going to be the home icon, which I'm just going to paste in like so. Now, if I go ahead and save that, we should be able to see the button right there. There we go. So now we have our button. What is this error? HTML okay, that was just I think a hydration error or something. So you can see that we have our button right there. Now the trigger is working, but the reason why it's not showing anything is because we are not showing the content anywhere. So the next component that we need to render is the dialog content. Once again, from /UI dialog, and the dialog content, in this case, I want to give it a class name of border. And not before I give it a class name, let me show you how it looks by default so that you understand why I'm giving it a class name. Inside the dialog content, we are going to have the dialog header, auto import it. What I'm doing right there is once it gives me the option to auto import it, I'm pressing enter or tab. Okay, so the dialog header, and the dialog header, inside here we're going to have a div, and inside this div we're going to have a dialog title. Right, see that it gives me the drop down. I'm just selecting the one from UI dialog, enter. So dialog title, and then the text here is going to say you are about to log out. And then below this title, we're going to have a dialog description. So dialog description, like so. And this is going to say click the log out button to log out, or click cancel to continue browsing. So, and then let's see, what else do we need to do? We need to go outside of this div, and then we're going to create another div, and then this div is going to be the close button, which is basically the cancel button. So dialog close, and the dialog close is a button, and we want to render a button inside it. So we're going to get an error. So what we need to do is we need to pass in a prop here called asChild, so that it passes down the properties into this button so that you don't get that error. And then this is going to have a variant of secondary, so it's going to be the white button. And then this is going to say cancel. And then outside of the dialog close, we are going to render out another button here, which is going to have the asChild prop once again. And then the variant for this is going to be destructive, so it's going to be a red button, so destructive. And this is going to be rendering the logout link, which is coming from Kinde Auth NextJs. So logout link, remember we had the register link and the login link. Now this is the logout link. And then when I close this, we're going to say log out, and then I want this to exclusively log out into the home page. So it has a prop that is called post logout redirect URL right there. So when I log out, I want to go back into the / page, which is our home page. Now that is looking fantastic. So let's go ahead and save that, and then let's try out our model. So click on this, and you can see that this is how our model looks like by default, which is quite ugly. So let's go ahead and style it out. I mean, you can have it as white if you want, basically just change the color of the header here, but I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is inside the dialog content right here, I'm going to give it a border, and a border dash neutral. What is it? Neutral dash 800. And then I'm going to give it a BG neutral dash 800. Let's save that. Let's see. Okay, so BG neutral 900. BG neutral 900, so that it's just a bit darker, so that you can see the slight border right there. Barely visible, but it is there. Now, once we do that, I'm going to go into the dialog header and give it a class name here of space dash y dash 6, just so that it pushes away the content within, as you can see right there. So it pushes away this div from this second div. And then inside the dialog title, I'm going to give this a class name of margin bottom of 2, so that it pushes away from the description, which is going to push away. And then once we do that, I'm going to go inside this div that has the two buttons, so the dialog close and then the button that has the logout link. I'm going to go inside this div. I'm going to give them a class name of flex wrap items center justify end. Okay, just justify end, and then gap on the x-axis of 4, just to separate out the buttons so that now they come here. And there we go. So look at this. When I click on the cancel, it closes the model, right? And then the reason why that happens is because of the dialog close. So the dialog close is a component from ShadCN which closes the dialog. And then on the button right here, so if I were to click on the logout button, it's going to log me out. But I don't want to go through the hassle of logging in again. So go ahead and test it out if you want, but I'm not going to do that right here. You can see that we have two close buttons. We have the cancel and we have this one right there as well. Fantastic. I think that is it for our header. I think that is it. You can see it even shows my name right there. Fantastic. Now, once we do that, let's go ahead and say this. We are going to go ahead and navigate into our create event page so that we can begin to build out this page next.